ideal clinical case, we could say the structure of the bone is sufficient in all the edentulous regions. We can take it for an ideal case. In general, you don't have this, especially the labial plate is lost, but this is a very beautiful case. We see also another thing, that the teeth are not very divergent, so it's quite an easy case. Maybe they're a little bit too convergent, because then the clasps will not find enough retention on the labia of the teeth, because it's there where we place the clasps, the metal clasps. We'll see what that means. But in the same time, they're not too divergent to prevent the clasps from sitting in their place. If that would be the case, we would prepare the teeth and make some crowns that would have the shape that we would like them to have. Yeah. So we should do some preparation, some milling in the teeth to avoid undercuts. But here we don't have these problems. It's a simple case, just to learn how to do clasps, wire clasps. There are other variants, but this is the simplest, and we start with this. So we start from this, and then we will see the difference between wire clasps and other clasps. So we take an impression, we make an impression in a standard tray. That means that it fits all patients. In reality, it doesn't perfectly fit any of the patients, but it is enough to give us the initial impression, right? That will give me an orientation. So I took the impression. It's a preliminary impression, an initial impression. Preliminary, it's a very clear way to put it. And then I pour the plaster in it, and what I'm getting is what? The model. Which model? Well, it's the preliminary model. So first is the prosthetic situation in the mouth, then the standard tray, then the impression, alginate impression, irreversible hydrocolloid, that's a very cheap impression material. It's fluid, it creates no compression on the mucosa, but is not very precise at the margin of the teeth because it's non-compressive. It cannot be compressed. It gives you a sufficiently good impression for this moment. So now this is the preliminary model, and here I will put some wax. Why? Because I want the next impression material to have enough space to be seated there. So after I place the wax, I create this individual tray. It has enough space for the next impression material. The individual tray is made either of simple acrylic resin, powder and liquid. It's self-curing. You obtain some sort of a putty consistency, and you place it there and you wait for it to self-cure. So that's how it looks. It's cheap. It's cheap to do it like this. Or this can be done, it's a little bit more expensive, using a special resin that is light cured. It's also acrylic, simple acrylic resin, but light curable. Imagine this shape of foil. You can work it easily. You give the form, you cut where you want, then you just place it with the model on a source of light, special violet light, ultraviolet light, and it will polymerize. I could do it in the same time from base plate. Base plate, it's a thermo-moldable material, but the disadvantage is that it's brittle. It breaks easily. So I don't like to do it from this material, out of this material, because on the other hand, there is no adhesive for it, and the impression material cannot adhere to that material. Besides, it's very brittle. It's the cheapest, yes, it's true, but it's only when you are in very, very dire financial need. It has nothing to do with the strength of a resin individual tray. So that's the individual tray. So now I don't need that model anymore. It's gone. I can keep it or dispose it, doesn't matter. Right. So now I take this individual tray. I come back in the office now. I check in the mouth that it fits well. I apply adhesive. There's a special adhesive for the silicone that I'm using, condensation silicone or addition silicone. Depends what type of silicone I'm using. Yeah, there's two types of silicones, two types of adhesive. If not, I just drill some holes, especially at the margin, to create retentions, mechanical retentions. Yeah, that will keep my impression material inside. Yeah, it's maintained. The material is maintained inside if I have those marginal retentions, so that I don't want the material, the impression material, to get out of the tray when I take the impression. So this is the final impression, or the functional impression. And once I've done it, I pour in it. You see, there's a difference of color just to make it clear. It's a functional model, or the final model, or the definitive model. It's very precise, very exact. The impression is very precise.